Welcome to the Big Mountain College Football Podcast, where we bring you a fresh take on college football betting, focused on the Big Ten and the Mountain West.
How you doing again? I am JY, and this is my good friend Steve, and we are here to give you a reaction video to our Week 0 picks. And if you saw our preview episode or our Week 0 pick episode, we made 4 picks in that. And then I dropped a short on the game day and made 2 game day picks. So if you want to be getting our game day information, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you're getting notifications. We're probably going to be dropping game day picks probably just about every week. And, you know, if we're feeling lucky on something, we're going to get it out to you. So, again, make sure you're subscribed here so you get all of our picks and all of the information that we think you're looking for. So with that, Steve, Notre Dame. Minus 20.5 versus Navy. That was your one pick.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Well, like we talked about last week, as a old retired Navy chief, I wanted to pick Navy. My heart said Navy, but my brain knew the Navy was going to struggle. They're in a total rebuilding mode. This is the first year of the new rules with no cut blocking, and it was the first game, so that totally affects their offense and what they're trying to do with their option run game. And, you know, they're just going to struggle. I knew they were going to struggle, and Notre Dame is completely loaded. Just, you know, NFL talent all up and down the roster. So it went pretty much what I expected. Notre Dame, you know, I picked Notre Dame 20.5 over Navy. They almost double covered that.
Yes, they did.
Navy got a sad field goal at the end to get off the get off the donut.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame, they covered. And I cashed that puppy.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you're perfect.
1-1.
Let's keep it that way.
I didn't go too far on the limb this week.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about you. How did you do this week, JY?
Well, I did okay with the preview picks. I went 2 and 3. No, I'm sorry, that's not right. I went 1 and 2, and then with my game day picks, I went 1 and 1.
Okay.
So I ended up at 2 and 3.
Okay.
But let's go down through them real quick.
Yeah, let's break them down.
So the first one, and we're going to get into this game a little bit later in more depth, but was the San Diego State to be minus 2.5. I watched the entire game. Happy to say they covered that. We're going to get into some analysis on that, but that's a win for me. And then one of my game day picks was the San Jose State team to go over 16.5. We actually talked about that in the preview video. Didn't make a pick or a call on that, but I felt really comfortable both with the game over and especially with the San Jose State over. They scored 28 points, so they blew right past that 17. I mentioned I saw them in the 20s, and they ended up in the 20s. So, and that's good. I knew that offense, that's going to be a well-oiled offensive machine here this year, so they will be scoring their points. Then to the maybe not so good. So New Mexico State let me down on 2 different levels. I did watch some of that game, definitely in the beginning, until I saw what was going on with the UMass offense and knew I was in trouble, and our viewers were in trouble if they took that pick. So I will eat crow on that. I locked that. Learned my lesson on locking a non-Mountain West team.
You stepped out of your box.
I stepped out of my box. I wanted to come in hot here for the first episode. Maybe it just fell on my face a little bit with that one. But the other one that I had them in was a parlay. Again, another game day pick that I did was a parlay that I did on alt unders for both that game, the UMass game, and the Ohio-San Diego State game. One hit, one didn't. That's what happens with parlays. You need them both to hit to win. The Ohio-San Diego State game was clearly way under the alt under that I had at 50.5. But again, the UMass offense cooked my goose. So that was the name of that game. And then the last one was the Vandy versus Hawaii game. Again, Hawaii's offense looked better than I was expecting them to look.
Much improved.
Much improved. So that's great for them. I like to see Mountain West teams do well. They didn't win the game, but I had him at Vandy at a minus 17.5, ended up at a touchdown. So happy for the Mountain West team there to have a good showing. Not happy that it was a loss for us, but that's where I ended up. So we want to do a real quick video or a quick slide for you guys just to go over those. We're going to do this every week. We'll do a weekly slide, and then as we get into this, we're going to do a cumulative slide as well. But for this week, got one slide, just the week. Do a quick summary for you.
Okay, so now that we reviewed our picks, went over that and showed you that information, there's a couple games I really want to talk about. We talked about these games on our Week 0 picks prediction show. The games lived up to the hype, I think, and I definitely want to talk about these. The first one is Ohio at San Diego State. I said on the preview show that this could be a statement win for San Diego State, and it was, but I want to hear what you think about the game.
I watched the whole game from beginning to end. It was a great game to watch. I wasn't overly surprised that the defense dominated the way they did. I think coming into the game, it seemed like everybody was riding Ohio even more than the San Diego State team, and especially Rourke, their quarterback, who started, didn't finish, but started. And I felt like the beginning of the game, San Diego State was a little methodical. The defense was playing way back, given some respect. They didn't want to get burnt early. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll see where this goes. Are they just feeling things out and going to get more aggressive? And that's exactly what they did. The defense got way more aggressive, and I mean they rocked Rourke there. I thought the hit before he got injured and came out of the game, he could have been injured and out of the game.
Absolutely,
because that linebacker just jacked him hard.
Yep.
And I mean it was a nice option play. He held it to the very last minute, which is a good option play, but it also risk getting injured, and he got jacked.
Yeah.
And then took I think it was a knee to the helmet a little bit later in the game, and that's what ended up knocking him out. But people say, well, if he would have stayed in the game, it may have been a different game. I don't think so, because that defense was eating up the O-line and was getting to the quarterback. And I don't care if Rourke would have been in the game. The defense controlled that game, and it's exactly what I think we thought was going to happen. We didn't want to be overly confident with them. At least I didn't want to be, but it was the game that I thought they would have in them. They did have it in them. I couldn't be happier for that team. I think it's overdue. They got a hard schedule yet. We talked about that, and the next 4 games are tough, but great way to start the season. In a nutshell, it was a great game to watch.
Yeah, totally agree. So first of all, I think this San Diego State team is a kind of a hallmark Brady Hoke team. Run the ball, and play great defense. And that's it didn't work out for him at a place like Michigan, which is obviously they have super high expectations, but everywhere else he's been, that's been his winning formula.
Yeah.
And we were texting back and forth, and probably 10 seconds into the game, you told me, this game is going to come down to Rourke versus the San Diego State defense. And you were exactly right. And to your point, honestly, I have a bone to pick with the media.
Pick it.
Yeah, everything I've seen, it comes down to they're just dismissing San Diego State's win as, oh, well, it's because Ohio, it was a fluke. Ohio lost their starting quarterback, and then the game was over.
Yep.
Well, but that's the thing. He didn't just decide get lost on from the sideline.
Right.
It's not like he had diarrhea or something and couldn't come back out.
Right.
He got knocked out by San Diego State's defense.
Yep.
The hit,
and it would have happened the entire, even if he's not injured, and I don't want anyone to be injured.
Right.
It would have happened the rest of the game.
Yeah.
If he's physically able to still play, he's still going to be getting jacked.
He barely lasted a quarter.
Right.
And like you, I think when we were texting after the hit before the one that knocked him out, I told you, I said, he's another 2 or 3 of those hits and he's done.
Absolutely.
Yep. So not only did they knock him out of the game, then his backup came in and they beat the heck out of his backup as well.
Yep.
So that's the thing. It was San Diego State's defense against the good returning quarterback Rourke for Ohio, and San Diego State's defense stepped up. They did what they had to do. Now I will say, they did finally. You and I were both kind of annoyed with San Diego State, their offense, because they were trying to run the ball. Finally, they started throwing at the end of the first half. That's really that they scored a touchdown. That's what got the game going in their favor. But to me, it was a story of Rourke versus San Diego State defense, like you said, and the San Diego State defense threw that knockout punch at the end of the first quarter.
Right. And you look at the stats. The defense had 2 sacks on the day. They were recorded for 2 sacks.
Right.
What you need to look into is how often were they rushing the passer, how often they get to him, because the first hit on Rourke, it wasn't a sack, it was an option play.
Yeah.
But he got blown up.
Yes, absolutely.
So, you look at the stats, what are you talking about? The defense had 2 sacks. they were owning that offensive line and making it very uncomfortable for the quarterback. Like you said, both quarterbacks. They did have 3 interceptions again because they were getting pressure. They were getting into their faces. They were owning that line of scrimmage. That's what caused some of the interceptions. It wasn't the secondary making a great. I mean, they're getting balls tipped up in the air. That's all the D line. They're putting pressure on them. So really impressive by the defense. And I will say, we were talking about throwing. I was for their second touchdown there later in the game. I'm going, where's that tight end? Where's that tight end? We got to throw it to him. And he ends up with 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Redmond played a great game.
Yes.
He was there obviously with the 2 touchdown catches. The other thing that people don't talk about, and you actually brought it up to me earlier on, the first points of the game were a 49-yard field goal. Well, if you have a really good defense, you can run it. And then you have a kicker and a punter. Again, a guy that you mentioned to me.
Best punter in the country.
Best punter in the country.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for a great team.
That's a Brady Hoke team right there.
The punter, I have it here, Browning, he had 3 punts. His average was 56 yards.
Yeah.
That's a game changer too.
Absolutely.
So, again, expecting really good things from San Diego State. We're all happy for him. I'm not sure I have a whole much more to say, but it's kind of what we thought we were going to get from them, and they gave it. Frankly, I think they gave more than what we were expecting, which is awesome.
I'll add one last point. You mentioned the 3 interceptions, and they even had an additional one that was called back,
right?
Where the quarterback got blown up again, threw a duck up in the air. It was an interception return for a touchdown. Yep. I thought it was a very borderline hit. Yep. Guy hit him in the chest, but his helmet I think maybe made contact up there. So they said it was a high hit. Whatever, returned it, and that's what made the score closer.
Yes.
than it actually was. That game was not as close as the score indicated. That was a thumping and a beating.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Very questionable call. Yeah. And that was a pick 6 that got brought back. But a good point. It was not even as close as the score says it was. So
all right. So again, a great. I mentioned that I thought this could be a statement win for San Diego State, and I know it's a MAC team, it's Ohio, but week 0, there's a lot of eyeballs on that game. Mm-hmm. There was not a lot of big games on,
right?
And it was a great time for them to go and get that win out of conference, and it'll be really interesting to see how they play in the Mountain West this year.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to move on. The second game that we talked about, I don't. We didn't make a pick on it in our week 0 show. I think you did. You did a game day pick.
Game day pick. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we did talk about it quite a bit, and that was San Jose State and USC. So for me, my analysis on the game going in, I said that this might be the most interesting game of the weekend. And for the reason why, for me, USC national championship expectations. The Caleb Williams, the returning Heisman Trophy winner, mm-hmm. that roster is just loaded with NFL talent, 5-star receivers.
Yep.
I said this was going to be an early test on the USC defense.
Yeah.
Could they hold up? Because honestly, if they can't hold up against a Mountain West offense, are they going to be able to hold up against Pac-12 offenses? And then later, if they want to get into the college football playoff, well. Right. Honestly, the USC defense still stinks. They were terrible. I think that it was 21-14. They were up 21-14 at half.
Yeah.
The game ended up getting away. The score in a second half for sure. USC they had one of their freshman 5-star wide receivers had a big touchdown, and they had a return for a touchdown, and they broke the game open. But nothing I saw impressed me about that USC defense. I still think that's the weakness of the team.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was impressed by that San Jose State offense. They were right there. They were matching. And the thing about the USC defense is they don't play well, but they have players.
Sure.
They have 5-star talent, 4 and 5-star talent. Lincoln Riley has brought in transfer players out of the portal to make that defense better, and they had a lot of trouble, especially in the first half, stopping San Jose State. Now, by the end of the game, they have more depth, they have more talent up and down the roster, so that depth won out. But nothing impressed me about the USC defense, and it went pretty much like we talked about.
Yeah.
I just want to see if you had any other thoughts on that game.
Yeah, the main thing we were talking about is just how high scoring the game's going to be, and it was as high scoring as expected. And I did make that game day pick because the more I thought about it, especially from the San Jose State side, I know they've got the offense to be there. And again, they're not going up against one of the top defenses in the country. And so kind of just putting those together, Cordero ended up at, he was 21 of 38 on the day, just under 200 yards, but he had three touchdowns, all to Nash. Yep. That Nash was 6 receptions for 89 yards. And just they're a potent offense. So, again, I wasn't surprised to see them put the points up. I was happy when they were getting some early touchdowns because, kind of my insurance on that was, well, if USC goes up big, do they put in second and third stringers in the second half? And
Nope.
and no, they got they got 14 points in the first half, and
Yeah.
I was loving it. So I'm not surprised by that at all. And I'll probably be taking San Jose State to be over in the future as well. So again, check out those game day picks. Hopefully, some people saw that because it's just they've got the talent there. So.
Yeah, and I think that the USC's Heisman Trophy winning quarterback was in the game at least up until the fourth quarter when I was checking it. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so that's all I got on those two games. Jay, you want to bring us home?
Yeah, and that'll do it, I guess, for this episode. I hope you like the reactions. We're going to do this every week. We'll have a slide, like I said earlier, that'll be cumulative. We don't have that tonight, obviously, because we're on week 0.
Yeah.
But we'll be showing that. Want to keep ourselves honest. Hopefully, I ate some of the crow there for the New Mexico State pick. Learned my lesson. We won't do that again. We ended up 3-3 for the first week. We want to be better than 500, but 500's not awful either. So, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.